Hello, how are you? I hope you've taken time for yourself lately. Or have you put yourself on the back burner? Because today is going to be different. Today, I want you to focus on yourself. Realize how important you are. Listen to the sound of my voice as it gets close to your ear, right next to your ear, and further away. Can you hear me now? Does it give you any tingles? I want you to know that you're safe. You're safe here with me. Everything's going to be okay. And so are you. You're very special. You're wanted, needed, and valued. Can you guess where I am? I want you to relax, okay? You might not be able to see me, but I'm here with you. I'm just going to walk around this room and talk to you. Just be with you. I'm going to whisper in your ear. I'm going to get close and further away. And hopefully, you will enjoy the sound of my voice as it comes in and fades away. With many great hopes, you'll be able to relax and use your mind to forget about your worries, at least for a little while. So why don't you get nice and comfortable in your bed, or relax in your chair, whatever you feel most comfortable with. And you can go ahead and close your eyes. It's time to relax. 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 Release all the tension from your body. Focus on your breathing, the sound it makes. Your belly rising and falling with each breath. Pay attention to your body and how it feels, how it reacts. Let yourself relax, let your muscles ease down. And just breathe in and out, in and out. Such an easy and unnoticeable thing we do throughout our lives. In and out. Your belly rising up and down. So easy and gentle. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Notice how your warm breath is. How gentle it is. How easy it comes and goes. Let your mind settle. I know you might have worries, things to think about, your own type of stress, but now it's the time to relax and rest It's time to sleep. Re-energize. It's important for us to take these steps. To let our bodies and our minds get that much needed rest. We have to take time to realize we ourselves need self-care. And it's not selfish. It's not selfish to take care of our own self. Every once in a while, it's a necessary step. Sometimes we just need to realize it's time to slow our pace. And that's perfectly okay. For example, right now, it's time to slow down and relax. Go to sleep. Your brain is a muscle. You gotta work it out. You know, if you're only thinking negative things, that's all it's going to produce. So you gotta help it. You gotta train it with your proper form. Proper positivity. And it's weird. It's a weird thing. It's so powerful. So we need to prioritize it. I know it can be difficult to remember this. So here's a gentle reminder from me to you. Tell me now. How are you feeling? Are you more relaxed? Has your mind calmed? Or are you still focusing on your breath like I reminded you to? Here. I have an idea. It may help you get to sleep and take your mind off whatever keeps you up. How about I whisper a story in your ear? I hope you don't mind creepy ones, because they are my favorite. This one here is titled Room Sitting. It goes like this. I was referred by a temp agency. I had no idea who I would be working for or what the job would entail. All I knew that I would be paid good. A week-long excursion at $725 a night. More than enough to pay off a couple of credit card bills and a good chunk of next month's rent for that price. I would have done almost anything. I only wish I knew at that time what I was getting myself into. When I arrived at the address, I was surprised it was a large facility at the end of a dirt road in the woods 2 towns over. And a large sign outside read Sins Corp. So it's a plain white 3-story building, void of identifying markings. Its appearance gave me no clues to its purpose. Its location was even more baffling. Going off the name alone, I had to assume it was some sort of biotech company. I was probably needed to clean up radioactive waste or something to that end. For what they're paying me, I would happily risk my health. Upon entering the building and meeting with the receptionist, I was directed to room 371 on the 2nd floor, where I would wait for Al, my new boss. It was your standard office. More quaint than usual. Red carpet, white walls, no windows. Only 6 desks, and 3 rows of 2 each with their own computer. The back room is large, covered by one lumiere, and opening with steps on either side of it. Inside a single chair desk and a landline phone, probably a place for supervisors to receive productivity. Other than that room, however, no points of interest. Unless you fancy the waistband and firing in the corner. An older gentleman opened the door to the room and came over to shake my hand, introducing himself as Al. He seemed to be in a rush, wasting no time describing the task at hand. I was to stay in that room from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. the following day, every night for a week. He left me his cell number and eliminated a list of rules to be followed. He told me he could not overstay enough importance of following each rule, and everyone exactly as they were outlined. Once he was sure I understood the gravity of the situation, he left me to my first shift in peace, closing the door behind him. That was it. Really, just stay in the room for 10 hours a night. I had no clue as to why I was paying over $5,000 to room set. But I learned some time ago to never look a gift horse in the mouth. I simply sat down in the overseer's room with a smile on my face. Went over the list of rules. There were 10 in total, all of which left me more than a little confused. 1. Once it blows around, lock the door. And do not leave the room for any reason until 6. That's when the clock would chime. And you would pay your bathroom breaks and usage periods accordingly. No food or drink items within the room. 2. Do not use Hank's computer. It's the one closest to the exit. No one is ever to touch it under any circumstances. Not even Hank. 3. If the phone rings, answer it, but do not talk no matter what the voice on the other end says. You are not to respond. Hang up after 2 minutes have passed. 4. Do not let the generator in. We don't have a janitor. 5. If anyone else comes to the door, let them in. Ignore them. Do not react whatsoever. When they leave, shut the door and lock it behind them. 6. If the waistband changes locations, place it back in the corner as soon as you notice. 7. If I stop by, let me in, only if I know the password. 8. At 9:30 precisely, go to each of the computer's home screens. and type in different URLs. Except Hanks, do not react to the images. Act normal. 9. If you see Harvey, feed him one of the treats from Lisa's desk. The one opposite Hank's. 10. If there's an emergency, call my cell, but not after 10:05 p.m. Below the last rule was a final sentiment scribbled over the laminate. No one has made it past night 3. Good luck. I was perplexed, wondering for a moment if Al was a lunatic. If that was the reason no one else had lasted, perhaps his quirks were too much for the previous candidates. They backed out, fearing for their safety. I would not be swayed so easily. Even if I was crazy, I'd happily take his money for what was shaping up to be a very simple job. At least that's what I thought. Day 1 was boring. Nothing remarkable happened. Definitely not anything to the extent of what Al's list would have me expect. At 9:30, I even changed the URLs in the computers for no other reason than to feel somewhat useful. The next night, however, was a little different. Day 2 started, as it normally did. I settled in for a long night, making sure to eat and empty my bladder before looking myself in at 9:25. Just as I was about to be ready to change the home screen again, I thought the waistband was right there at the top of the steps to the overseer's room. I certainly hadn't placed it there. I thought a small spike in my adrenaline before calming down with a smile, the waistband. The list was all a joke at my expense. I would be in the next room, writing anxiously to see the look on my face. Onto the office floor, there was no one there. I walked over to the exit and shook the knob. It was still locked. Confused and a little scared, I swiftly picked up the waistband and walked it back over to the corner of the room. I checked the time, 9:30. I started changing URLs on all the computers, hoping desperately that I had imagined what just occurred. After skipping Hank's desk, I logged in the last website on PC number 6. I was about to pull away when some strange imagery manifested on the screen. It was the very footage of the very room I was in. I saw me looking at the computer. I turned and looked up, but there was no camera. From looking back at the screen, I saw something terrifying. It was a copy of me stepping out in the overseer's room. It walked up behind me, grabbed a hard drive from one of my desks, and started to strike me in the back of the head. I quickly turned to chill myself. There was no one there. I turned back, and the screen changed, displaying the website I entered as normal. I went to the overseer's room and sat down, more than a little bit frazzled. I contemplated walking out, but I stilled myself, and I was fine after a while. Maybe I wasn't a lunatic, but he didn't seem to talk to me to wish me any harm. Not that I knew him. I hadn't sustained any damage. I was questioning my sanity, yes, but no bodily injuries had fallen upon me. Whatever was at play here seemed harmless so far. Knock, knock. There's a lot of banging. Just had the most horrifying experience of my life. I nearly jumped out of my skin. My voice penetrated the door. "It's the janitor, just here to clean up. Can you open the door?" I called roll number 4 and denied him entry. "You did good not letting him in. You followed the rule, then you're fine. So long as you follow the rules, you'll be safe. It's as simple as that. You can see this through." I jumped again. I really need to get in there and clean up, open the door. I took a deep breath and filled my back, my anxiety successfully ignoring the janitor until he left. This was an accomplishment for me. It actually felt pretty good. I was able to best him. Though I remained on edge, the next few hours were uneventful. I even dozed off for a moment. At one point, it wasn't until 2:30 that my next challenge would come. A multicolored cat jumped up on the desk in front of me, complete with beautiful splotches of black and orange. I was startled, but it seemed to be friendly, brushing up against my arm, the name on its collar, Harvey. I knew what I had to do. I rummaged through Lisa's desk and found the jar of treats and fed Harvey. To which he purred in delight. And to my astonishment, he didn't charge the door. He phased right through it. My mouth was agape. My initial bewilderment dissipated. It was replaced with satisfaction over another small victory. As strange as it may sound, I was beginning to like the job. Ring, ring. When it's landline remembering rules, I moved it from the receiver. I held it to my ear, making sure to keep an eye on the time. "Hey." "It's Al. I'm going to be stopping by pretty soon to do a little work. How's the job treating you so far?" I remained silent. "Hello? You know you can talk to me. If it's me, right?" I picked up the set of rules and looked them over again. There was nothing about our calling. I didn't respond. This is no way to treat your employer. If you don't say anything, I have no choice but to fire you. Do you really want that? I stood my ground. Only 20 seconds to go. "Fine. I'll see you soon. To relieve you of your duty. I guess you couldn't even make it past tonight, too." A 2-minute mark came up, and I hung up on him. I felt safe as another hour went by, reflecting on the trials I'd faced thus far. I was bewildered, but determined. I wasn't going to let the room cloud my judgment. I was in control. Knock, knock. "It's Lisa. Can I come in?" I hesitated, but I had to abide by rule number 5. I opened the door, and a woman entered. "You must be the new guy. What do you think of the place?" I went back to my desk in the overseer's room and sat down, trying my best to act casual. Lisa walked up to the glass, knowing I could see through it. "Not very talkative, are you?" Her eyes naturally darted around in all directions. and her skin drooped a little bit, almost as if it was falling off the bone. I didn't answer. She didn't speak again until, instead, she stared at the glass for a long time. Long enough to leave me feeling unsettled. She then walked in and stopped at my side, raising her arm. I hoped she would know if my breathing had become sporadic or labored. She then violently swung down on the desk, creating a thunderous clasp. I almost winced, but held my composure. After another awkward 5 minutes or so, she left. I ran to the door and locked it behind her. A few moments later, there was yet another knock. This time it was a boy claiming to be searching for his father. I let him in and sat back down. He tried many times to ask for my help, but I was careful to ignore him, just as I had Lisa at one point. However, I made the mistake of meeting his gaze for an instant. In between blinks, his eyes became pitch black, of raw color. I nearly jolted back, but was able to restrain myself. Like Lisa before him, the boy eventually left, and I quickly locked the door behind him. Another roll followed. Other than the waist been moving around a few more times, nothing else happened that night. Before I knew it, it was time to go home. I heavily considered calling it quits, and may have even had a nightmare or two with sleeping that day, but I found myself excited to continue, wondering what obstacles the room would throw at me next. Curiosity shouldn't have been enough to bring me back, but all rational trains of thought escaped me. The room had its pull that beckoned me to it. I was hopelessly compelled to return, powerless to its call. Any excuse would have sufficed. As such, I resumed my post the following night. Upon starting my shift, I was confident. I had dealt with quite a few absurdities up to this point and waited patiently for my next opportunity. A couple hours went by with no trouble. No cut, no images on the computers, no phone calls, and no waistband antics. Boredom was beginning to set in when a loud knocking broke the silence. There was no voice. I yelled up from the overseer's room. "Who is it?" I asked. There was a brief pause. "It's me, Al." I picked up the list and reread rule number 7. "What's the password?" I heard him chuckle to himself. I never wrote down a password. He was right. There was no password written on the rule. It must have been him. I cautiously made my way to the door, opened it. There he was to greet me with a smile, and I felt some relief. "Let me guess, scared of the things that go bump in the night," he laughed at my clear, nervous disposition. "You have no idea." He shut the door and set up things at one of the computers. "Say, why didn't you write down a password?" I asked. He smiled again. "It's a ploy. Anyone posing as me might try to come up with one, which would identify them as not being me. Understand?" "I see. Good thinking." He returned to his work, at the computer. I didn't want to bother him, but I just had to know. What is this place anyway? Why do these things happen here? He turned to face me. It's best if you don't ask questions, especially ones that are far above your pay grade. I wasn't happy with my answer, but I knew it was all I would get out of him. I let him work in peace and sat back down in the overseer's room, watching through the woman glass. That's when I realized something. The computer he was using, it was Hank's. I double-checked the list to make sure. Yes, that was definitely Hank's desk, and no one was to touch his computer. It didn't apply to Al as well. I turned over the list on the off chance I might find some more information. That's when my heart sank. In large, bold print on the back of the laminated sheet was texted red. Password. Diner. Fuck. I grabbed my phone, reached for the scrap of paper with Al's number on it, and dialed it as fast as I could. There were a few tones, but he eventually picked up. Hello? Everything all right over there? Oh, thank goodness, I made a mistake. I thought he was you. I let him in and now he's on Hank's computer. He let out a long, disappointed sigh. Listen very carefully. Do not act suspicious in any way. He should be fine if he doesn't suspect anything. If you try to call anyone or leave, it'll all be over. Understand? Yes, I understand. Alice Coffey began walking to the overseer's room. My heart was beating faster than it ever had before. I'll be there soon, just don't panic. He hung up the phone. I left it to my ear as Alice Coffey approached. So I pretended to talk to my wife, saying, I told you, honey, 6. That's when I clock out. You don't have to wait up for me. You worry too much. Please get some rest. Alice Coffey was in the room with me now, staring. I held the phone to my chest and looked at him. Everything okay? I asked. He continued to stare for a few long seconds. Can you help me with something on the computer? I wonder if you could see my chest pounding. Sure, I just need to finish this phone call. I'll be there as soon as I can. He stared for another moment and then walked back to Hank's desk. I kept up my appearances by continuing to pretend to be on the phone. I even acted out an argument to lengthen the call. While doing this, I watched with bated breath as the knob gently turned and the door swung open. It was Al. I'd never been so relieved in my life. He turned to the glass and put a finger to his mouth. Just be quiet. The clown was not yet privy to his arrival. Al snuck up behind his clown and grabbed him by the throat. The imposter struggled but eventually succumbed to his vicious grip. He fell to the floor in a lifeless hole before disintegrating into the carpet. I ran out and thanked him. I also apologized profusely. No need to be sorry. This isn't the first time. He smiled. Speaking of which, mind shutting the door? We want another when we're stopping by. Of course. I walked over to the door and realized something. I had left it unlocked after the copy came in, and that's how Al was able to enter the room. Remembering the final rule, I slowly pulled up my phone and opened my call log. My most recent call connected at 2:19. 13 minutes past the deadline. I turned around to see Al standing right behind me. Al, what's the password? He grinned. What password? I ran out of there as fast as I could. The room still has a strange hold over me, but I would never go back. At least I hope I won't. Now, if you made it through the story, it's definitely time for you to close your eyes and get some sleep. So, good night, my friend. Good night.